Thank you for tuning into CCNTV. I'm your host, Captivating Christian, and here is your top stories for today, March 16th. So the coronavirus vaccine trials start today. Biden commits to picking a woman as VP as Sanders strongly considers the same. Illinois' governor says that the White House staffer that called to yell at him about a tweet he posted about the airport chaos. And remember when Trump said he didn't know about the cutting at the pandemic office? Well, a letter from Sherrod Brown says otherwise. And due to the coronavirus, stores are closing. All stores are closing early or temporarily shutting down. And lastly, public health experts say that African Americans are at greater risk of death from the coronavirus. Let's get to the news. The first participants in the clinical trial for the vaccine to protect against the new coronavirus will receive an experimental dose on Monday, according to government officials. The National Institute of Health is funding the trial, which is taking place at the Kaiser Permanente Washington Health Research Institute in Seattle, Washington. The officials who disclosed the plan for the first participants spoke on conditions of anonymity because the move has not been publicly announced. Public health officials say that it will take up to 18 months to fully vaccinate any potential vaccine. The nation responds to the coronavirus outbreak, dominating much of the discussion at the 11th Democratic debate on Sunday night, the first time that Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders went head-to-head on stage in the 2020 election cycle. It is also the first time that Biden vowed to have a woman as his running mate if he is to win the nomination. The former vice president and Vermont independent senator squared off in a dramatically different surroundings than initially planned. Washington instead of Phoenix, and the CNN studios instead of a 5,000 seated theater with a live audience, a venue change prompted by the coronavirus fears as the nation goes into lockdown over the pandemic. Biden has emerged as the frontrunner for the Democratic nomination following a string of state primary victories since winning in South Carolina last month. NBC News provided stories, analytics, and up-to-date minute blogs coverage of the debate, which also streamed live on CNN.com. A number of big U.S. airports were crowded with tons of people who needed to undergo coronavirus screenings, among them O'Hare Airport, where Governor J.P. Pritzker wanted to make it clear that he was not happy with the federal government. Pritzker tweeted at President Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence that since this is the only communication medium you pay attention to, you need to do something now. On Meet the Press on Sunday morning, the governor told Chuck Todd that they all should have been expecting this after the president's announcement on the travel restrictions, saying last night as people were flooding into O'Hare Airport, they were struck in a small area, hundreds and hundreds of people, and that's exactly what you don't want in a pandemic. So we had that problem. And then today, it's going to be even worse. There are large numbers of flights and more people coming, and they seem completely unprepared. The governor also stated that he got a call around 11 p.m. after the tweet from the White House staffer who yelled at me about the tweet. That is what I got. Now we've been talking to Customs and Border Patrol officers directly on the ground at O'Hare. I've been working with the mayor and our senators to make sure that we're getting the federal government to pay attention to this problem because we can't have it happen. During a press conference on Friday afternoon about the federal government's response to the new coronavirus outbreak, President Donald Trump was asked what responsibility he took for disbanding the White House office almost 2 years ago that had been set up to manage America's response to a pandemic. Trump called it a nasty question and claimed, "I did not do it," and twice maintained, "I did not know anything about it." However, Senator Sherrod Brown quickly took to Twitter saying, "Not true at the real Donald Trump. I wrote you more than 600 days ago demanding answers after you fired the entire White House pandemic team." The Democratic senator from Ohio provided proof with a 2-page letter to the president dated May 18th, 2018. The coronavirus has caused havoc across the globe. Several businesses are following the example of the sports and entertainment world to halting the spread. While some stores and businesses are outright closing, several are keeping their doors open while changing their customary hours. These stores include stores like Walmart and Publix and many more. Not only are these businesses reached out to customers with messages informing them of their change to their routine, they've also altered practices to get things more streamlined to aid the employees and limit the contact with potential virus carriers. Apple became the first of the stores to close amidst the coronavirus spread or outbreak, shutting the doors until at least March 28th for stores outside of China. Publix also took extraordinary steps to limit customers' exposure by shortening the hours and closing early. There have been fights and struggles this past week, including empty shelves and frustrated citizens looking for answers. Those limits will likely add to the positive good as the United States and the rest of the globe work against the disease. This week, the U.S. joined the nation around the world in instituting a sweeping emergency measures to combat the coronavirus pandemic. In an attempt to slow down the spread of the COVID-19, the disease caused by the virus, schools and universities shut down, concerts and conventions have been canceled, and the NBA suspended the remainder of its season, along with other professional sports leagues. For the first time in its 81-year history, the NCAA has canceled its annual March Madness basketball tournament. Friday, President Donald J. Trump declared a national emergency. For a whole host of economic, political, and historical reasons, George C. Benjamin, the executive director of the American Public Health Association, says that it's a threat that African Americans need to take particularly seriously. We get a lot of misinformation circulating through our communities, Benjamin said. We fundamentally don't trust some of the non-black institutions because they do not serve us well. We need to make sure that our trusted institutions like clinics of color, churches, and community organizations are better educated. Benjamin spoke with the Undefeated about the history of healthcare in the community and the obstacles to treatment that exist. In one question, he was asked, why are African American communities at added risk for the coronavirus? He said, I think the biggest challenge is the fact that people of color, African Americans, start out with health outcomes that are disproportionately poor than compared to those of white Americans. The higher risk if you get the disease is someone 60 or older with chronic diseases. With African Americans, you start with a population that is disproportionately sicker, and if it gets exposed, it will have a higher death rate. And once again, thank you for watching TCN News. I am your host, Captivating Christian. And as always, be the change you want to see. If you want change, the change starts with you. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. And leave comments below. I would like to hear what you think about these stories and more. All right, have a good day. Peace.